the bangers on it. Although pretty much every track on this album are gonna leave your speakers nice and satisfied, a few of these songs are gonna make your soul burst with love, joy, and excitement for the human experience, and the song that we are about to dive into is one of them. It's called Let Go My Hand, featuring Boz and Black, and it is just packed with that J. Cole wisdom goodness. So what we're gonna do right now is move through a lyrical analysis of this song and pull out the main lessons that he gives specifically to parents and individuals who are really going through difficult growth in their life. So if that pertains to you as it does to me, then let's get right into it. If you haven't heard the song yet or would like to listen to it on the side, the link will be in the description, and I suggest you go like it and share it because we gotta get J. Cole's message all over the world. Let's go. First thing we gotta do to appreciate a Cole track is look at the hook, because the hook is often used by him as a key to the rest of the song, kind of giving you the point of view he wants you to see the song from. So the song starts with the hook, and the hook goes, "Soldier's song, marching on, hoping to see home. If I die before I see your smile just one more time." And then he stops. The hook stops there. But then he comes in with his verse. So in the hook, we have this image of a soldier marching, thinking of home, and if he dies before he gets to see the people at home smile one more time, he wants them to know blank. And that's when the song starts. So our perspective is J. Cole giving the things to home that he wants them to know if he weren't able to make it home. Alright, so on to lesson number 1, overcoming instant gratification. So again, in classic J. Cole style, he starts this verse by giving you 2 quick lines that are going to explain what he talks about, what he's going to talk about, and then he's going to give you real life examples that he is currently going through so that you understand the lesson a bit better. So he starts off by stating the lesson. "Sometimes I question whether this shit matters. Putting substance into something and the world so used to instant gratification." So here you have Cole really wanting to put some deep work into this song, but understanding that a lot of people are just looking for something that is going to make them go crazy for a little bit and then they can move on from. And that's what I think is really cool about this whole album, is it seems like an interplay between this kind of instant gratification of just like bangers, crazy songs with fun lines, and then also these potent songs with really deep content. And I think this line kind of expresses that. So then he moves on to 2 real life examples of this instant gratification and how it's playing out in his life. He goes on, "I found this instrumental on my phone while on vacation. Ebe sent it to me a year ago or so. I probably heard it before but slept on it, you know? Shit don't always connect as soon as you press play. At times you gotta step away, do some living, let time provide a new perspective, give a truer vision." Ooh, J. Cole! Oh my gosh. Oh geez, it's just so good. But yeah, so let's think about how this whole entire song that he's writing right now is on a beat that he is listening to for the first time in a long time while on vacation. And the first time he heard the beat, he might have dismissed it. But now that he's really lived a lot more experience, that thing has reintegrated itself into his life. And he is now writing a whole track about this instant gratification and what you can learn throughout your life while learning that thing with the beat that he's writing the song on. It's just whack to think about. So many layers to it. But then he goes on to a second example. He goes, "I dibble dabble in a few religions. My homie constantly telling me about the Quran, putting me on. I read a few pages and recognized the wisdom in it, but ain't got the discipline for sticking with it." Now, I think this is really fascinating because we often hear with J. Cole how he's involved with spirituality and often talks about meditation and mindfulness and prayer and these different things. But then you hear him admit, look, I dibble dabble with religions. I can't say that I am as committed as I would like to be. I see the wisdom, but I haven't given all the work I can, which again goes back to this idea of instant gratification and the way that a search for wisdom and a search for real internal growth also takes time and patience. And if we can let down those walls of instant gratification, bars, then we can understand that there is so many gems hidden within these wisdom traditions, and we can really tap into that wisdom ourselves. Now this whole theme of religion comes back around in the end of the song, which is, it's just a crazy end to the song. So keep that in mind, that we got this theme of religion here, and J. Cole kind of struggling with the idea of how much time to put into it. On to lesson number 2, you are the only true judge. So the next lines come in and we have a change of scenery. He goes, now I'm on my way to London. Got a show for 7 digits and I'm wondering, just when did I become my biggest critic? I want to be my biggest fan, like how it was when didn't nobody know my jams. And this is just this very interesting dynamic that he brings up of the fact that he's now getting paid 7 digits to go do a show in London. But he still doesn't feel, fully actualized yet, because even if this external stuff is here, he is the only one who knows his true potential. And he's saying that all of us, we are the only person who knows all of the highs and lows of our lives. Us and the universe, us and God are the only people who actually know what we are capable of, actually know where we fall short, and actually know what we can do to work on ourselves. So all of a sudden in his life, he is becoming the one who needs to be fully responsible for his own growth. That's because the external world that he used to have, this kind of back and forth with, of like, I believe in myself and I want to become the best thing and I'm going to give everyone my mixtapes because I know that they bang. It's interesting because now he's giving out those mixtapes. People agree that he bangs, but people knowing that you're really good isn't going to set the precedent for you becoming better, because they're always going to be focused on the stuff that you've already done. You're the only one who can take responsibility over your future and what you can become. Poetry. Oh my gosh. On to lesson number 3, let go of overprotection. Now this is really interesting. He comes off of the last line that ends with, didn't nobody know my jams? And then he goes, today my son said, Dad, let go my hand. Reminded me one day he's gonna be his own man. And my job is to make sure he's equipped. Cause I gotta make sure he's not no B-word, cause N-words bound to try him. This is kind of a turning moment in the song where all of a sudden things get very profound and familial, because he is now realizing that after talking about his own ability to overcome some of these things and start to be his own critic, now his son, whose hand he's holding and he wants to help protect and help teach, all of a sudden his son goes, Dad, let go of my hand. And this is just such a symbolic moment of really trusting that your kid is going to be the type of thing that you are, fully responsible. And he's understanding now, I need to make my son and give my son the opportunities to become what I am, which means making all of the mistakes, going through all of the tough times that I went through, and really understanding that I cannot protect you for your whole life. Your parents, your grandparents, your spouse, whoever it is, when we create these really deep bonds in our life, it's easy to try to just really hunker down and, make sure that those people are as safe and as comfortable as possible. But as we know, comfort is going to be something that holds you back. And J. Cole talks about this in all of his interviews about this album, where he's like, I got super comfortable over the last years, where, he's made it. He's done the things. The external world is doing it how he had dreamed. And now it's him who needs to continuously push himself to grow. And this is kind of the same thing, that if we want growth, we need to let our children and our loved ones really experience. And instead of focusing on making life easy for them, we need to focus on making life profound for them and making them the best thing they can be to move through that profundity. Do you hear? On to lesson number 4, overcoming pride. At this point in the song, J. Cole flips from talking about his son to now reflecting on his own life. He goes, if I said I was the toughest growing up, I would be lying. I had the fear of getting punched while everybody eyeing. Add that to a constant fear of dying by gunshot wound, the other violent type of endings. I kept a tough demeanor on the surface, but was mostly just pretending. Luckily, my bluff was working way more often than not. But sometimes an N-word pulled my card, trying to expose me for a fraud, and with my reputation at stake, I was scuffing just trying to save face. So here we have Cole admitting that, look, as a child, I wasn't that tough. Growing up, I wasn't that tough, but I thought that I always needed to put on this really tough out exterior demeanor to make sure that I was safe and protected, and most of the time it would work. But then when people would call me out, I would have to start acting from a place of defending this idea of myself that I built up, this whole fake persona of being super tough. And I started to get into quarrels, he's saying. He started to get into quarrels about just protecting his reputation. In my understanding, this portion of the verse gets to this idea of your true self versus an egoic kind of self-image that you build to feel like you fit in with society. We so often spend our life over in this egoic kind of mask on our face type personality because we are afraid of the vulnerability of being ourselves. And I think in this verse, he's starting to get at the idea that, look, our pride of being this thing is not as valuable as this other thing, because it's going to make you get into these fights about stuff that doesn't actually matter to the well-being of anyone, including yourself. All it does is protect this idea. Now, this gets even more interesting when we see where this track is in terms of the album. The song that comes right before it is called Pride is the Devil, and it's a whole song about where pride and protecting this ego will bring you, and the fact that it's not going to actually bring you happiness or, fulfillment in your life or wealth or any of the things that we all are trying to grow to. Instead, it's just going to make you act very rashly. And then what's really cool is that in this verse, in this song, Let Go My Hand, he immediately goes into, in classic Cole style again, goes into a real life example of this type of a situation. My last scrap was with Puff Daddy. Who would have thought it? I bought that N-word album back in 7th grade and played it so much you would have thought my favorite rapper was Puff. Back then I ain't no shit, and now I know too much. Ignorance is bliss, and innocence is just ignorance before it's introduced to currency and clips. So what happened between him and Puff Daddy? Puff Daddy, for those of you who don't know, is also a rapper, record producer, and he goes by a few different names: Puff Daddy, Puffy, or Diddy. And Diddy, I think, is his current kind of most well-known name as an MC. The whole quarrel between Diddy and Cole happened in 2013 when Big Sean released a single called Control. Now on this track Control, Kendrick Lamar had a verse, and in Kendrick Lamar's verse, he kind of prodded at the whole rap game, calling out every single big rapper at the time, including J. Cole, saying, look, I'm the greatest and I want all of your fans to come support me rather than you guys. Now, if you know Kendrick Lamar, you know that he's gonna say this stuff because he just loves the rap game and wants to improve everyone's level and keep this really healthy competition to grow. In the song, he even says, after listing all those rappers, I love you guys, but I want to murder all of you. So that just kind of shows the way that Kendrick looks at things. Anyway, Diddy, after hearing one line in that where Kendrick says that he's the king of New York, I guess they were at a bar and Diddy was intoxicated, tried to pour a drink on Kendrick's head, and Cole interfered, stopped that from happening, and then Diddy and Cole got into an argument. This was never confirmed by anyone until now. So this is really interesting because now this thing from 8 years ago is being brought up in this song, and Cole is saying like, look, I did this whole thing because I was trying to protect what I thought I should be and how I should act. And then at the end of this verse, he says, but back then I ain't know shit, and now I know too much. And he kind of explains this way that like, look, when I was doing these things, I didn't understand stuff. I hadn't grown into the man I am today, and I didn't have the perspective I had today, where back then it was all about ignorance. And he says ignorance is bliss and innocence is just ignorance before it's introduced to currency and clips. Now what's really interesting is that this Diddy situation also gets tied in at the end of the song, remember, as does religion. Now after Cole's verse ends, the hook comes back in, followed by a bridge from Boz, which just sounds super, super cool, but it's pretty mystical in nature, and I can't say that there's a direct lesson to pull from there. I think it's a part of the song that everyone needs to individually listen to and just feel it because it's just so nice. But at the end of the song comes the craziest lesson of the whole piece. So now we have lesson number 5, which I am calling pray, be present, listen, and act as spirit. So all of a sudden after this bridge from Boz, instead of going back into the hook as a song normally would, the song goes into a prayer. And the prayer goes, Lord, please guide our steps. Watch us, cover us, so that every move we make is in alignment with your will, your purpose. Please fill us with your spirit. Keep us forever in the present, for presence makes the strongest fathers. Teach us how to lead, show us how to love. First of all, I think the biggest lesson we can take from this is to pray. A prayer like this is nothing but an intention. You know, you are just saying how you would like to live your life. You know, every day I would like to live in alignment with God's will. I would like to be present. I would like to listen to the things around me and understand what's happening. And from this place of presence, I will be able to understand trust and love and devotion. And from those things, act in the will of God, act as spirit, which is beautiful. And this is a beautiful poem at all, but then it gets crazy because you think, wait a second, who is the person speaking these words? Because the poem isn't presented by J. Cole, it isn't presented by Boz or Black, who helped out with the choruses and bridge. Instead, it is presented by Diddy. Diddy, the guy who J. Cole was just talking about this quarrel he had with 8 years ago. So J. Cole, in classic J. Cole fashion, pulls the ultimate J. Cole, and instead of just explaining a lesson that he learned, he literally demonstrates the lesson by being like, hey, myself and Diddy have both learned all of these different lessons we're presenting in the song. We've learned how to take responsibility over our lives. We've learned how to listen to people and be present. We've learned to overcome our pride. We've learned all of X, Y, Z, and now him and I are going to link up at the end of this track, presenting a prayer for the future. That is unbelievable, and it just shows how genius J. Cole is, not in the fact that he's going to, say the craziest, most complex things, but that he's going to use resources that you've never thought about, ways you've never even thought about solving a problem, to show his listeners how the problem was solved. Literally by bringing this person's voice onto the track and saying, you belong in my work because of how much you influenced me when I was younger, and I want to make amends with you because I am taking responsibility over the way that I am living my life and what I am putting out into the world. Oh my. Oh. Is that crazy? It's incredible. It's just so cool. It's such, like, I feel like that right there is parenting 101. Do not just lead by telling a lesson. Lead by potentially telling a lesson, but really lead by giving a very concrete example. Show the people how it's done. Oh my gosh. What do you guys think about the track? I'd love to hear it. Did you think that these lessons are accurate and that J. Cole was trying to say these things? Did you understand Boz's random bridge in there that was like really sonically amazing and, had that mystical vibe to it? I'd love to hear what you guys think. And if you would like more content like this, you know the dealio, just hit the subscribe button. My brother from another mother, Mitch, and I are constantly finding content like this that elevates our lives and makes us better people, and we learn from it with you. So, thank you, J. Cole, for just some genius, and we hope to get into more of his songs. If you guys would like us to analyze anything else from him, let us know in the comments below. As always, much love.